Awesome. Cool. All righty. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And we could get started. Awesome. Can you all see my screen? I'm going to assume yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can see.
Great. Well, welcome everyone to the AI Product Management Live Workshop. My name is Shruti, and I'll be leading today's workshop, and super excited to see all of you here. Just a quick background on Interview Kickstart. It's one of the leading interview prep platforms. We've been around over 8 years. We have over 20,000 alumni. And we have a huge compensation range that students walk out with. And we have some of the top and the best mentors from Fang companies. And we're in the top 150 transformational edtech companies in 2024, which is super, super exciting. We have students who are getting jobs at Amazon, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI. We have really getting high placements in the top tech companies here in the Silicon Valley. I'm based in California, by the way, but obviously these jobs are based all over. Why IK? Really, it depends on what you're looking for, right? So we have the university method of learning, but then we also have the company method of learning where you actually get prepared on how to interview for these jobs. And you have instructors specifically from these Fang companies. So even for me, I'm an ex-Microsoft PM, and it's very practical and company focused. We have a mode of learning that's actually online, and our interview focus is extremely, extremely high. And just a quick background on me. So like I mentioned, I'm Shruti. I'm calling in from California today, from San Francisco. And my background is I actually got a computer science degree at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And then quickly, right after I graduated, I started working at Microsoft as a product manager on the endpoint analytics team. And then while I was at Microsoft, I actually bootstrapped my own company, and I sold it to the #2 usability testing company in the market. They're called Try My UI at the time. They're now called Trimata. And now I really wanted to learn from a unicorn founder. And so I'm helping build product here at a Series B unicorn called Incode. They're based by the water here in San Francisco. So quick agenda, we're really going to be doing a workshop. I want to dive into a little bit about what is ML, what is AI, what's generative AI, how do you navigate the AI wave, specifically here in product management, and then how can you leverage generative AI in your current job? And of course, please, I wanted to make sure that the chat was working. It's mostly because I would love for you all to make sure you're able to use the chat box today and ask any questions throughout. And I have it up here with me. So please be involved as much as you can. So what's changed in the last year, right? A lot of things have changed, but in particular, generative AI and accelerated computing have reached a really big turning point. So generative AI has moved out of research and into mainstream, right? With enterprise looking for new ways to deploy generative AI, build these really phenomenal user experiences, and improve operational efficiencies, and generally make the world a better place. And so that's where product managers become super important, right? Because companies are seeking these product managers who are passionate about helping businesses actually realize the benefits of generative AI, and equally intimate about helping these businesses remain compliant and minimize any operational risk. So what's generative AI product management, right? I know that we have people here today from maybe the software engineering background. We might even have people who are already in product management, who want to go into this AI space and really become an AI product manager. Now, a generative AI product manager oversees the development and maintenance of any sort of generative AI-driven products, and actually ensuring that they align with the ethical standards and the technical viability, right? And the role revolves around, obviously, leveraging artificial intelligence, but specifically to enrich or refine or innovate and actually define those product offerings. So let's begin our live workshop. The more the participation, the better. Like I mentioned, you have the webinar chat. Please definitely make use of it. That's how you're going to be interacting with me. I'm not scary, I don't bite, and I've taught classes here for a really long time. So please definitely be interactive, and I'm happy to answer any questions as we go throughout. And I'd love your involvement. I've definitely left spaces for you all to ask me questions, for you to answer, participate. So the more, the better. So what's today's workshop problem? Let's talk through this question. Let's say you're in an interview, or maybe you're at Instagram, right? And you get put with the task, what generative AI feature can Instagram develop to enhance user engagement given limited engineering resources? And this is a very real world problem that PMs at Instagram are experiencing or have experienced in the last year. So the key things to focus on. So the key success metric in this question is focused on increasing user engagement metrics. And the main constraint that I see above is actually limiting engineering resources. But before we jump in, let's actually recap some context about Instagram. Can anyone or everyone, whoever has context, can you tell me a little bit about Instagram to your knowledge? What kind of features do they have today? How big of a platform? How many users, customers? Take 30 seconds and let's see what comes up in the chat. Anyone want to type? I don't bite. Awesome. Cool. Great. Yeah, you guys are hitting it on the tee. Good ideas in there. Anyone else? Yep. Cool. Thanks. Thank you, Balaji and Vijay. So yes, and Shikhar, yes, thank you so much. To your guys' point, it is the leading social media platform. They have over 1 billion monthly active users, which is crazy. And they offer features such as stories, news feeds, reels, posts, lives, etc. And I know some people put some more feature ideas here in the chat. And they have a need for innovation, right? They constantly are competitive across other platforms similar to the space, and then they're focused on boosting user engagement. So with this generative AI opportunity in front of us, they have two things that they want to focus on. One is enhancing the user experience, and then two, it's driving engagement and any sort of revenue. So what's the approach that we're going to take today? So I actually wanted to replicate, honestly, what an interview would go like. So throughout this experience, I'll obviously get your engagement on the chat, but I'll also walk through maybe a small structure that you can implement, whether you're in an interview or maybe you're a real world PM who's already picking up an AI project and you want a structure to follow. So the approach that we're going to take today, first, let's talk a little bit about what is AI, ML, generative AI. Let's talk about that key success metric that I mentioned to you earlier. And then let's look at the competitive landscape. What are Instagram's competitors doing out there today, and how are they embedding generative AI? What are the different user personas that Instagram has today? What features can we actually come up with, and how should we prioritize it? And then ultimately, what are the next steps? So let's go through a quick overview of AI, ML, and generative AI. Okay, so artificial intelligence. It's actually, we've all heard of this term artificial intelligence if we've come from a tech background. It's really the field of computer science that's dedicated to creating systems that can actually go and perform those tasks, right? So typical tasks that might require human intelligence, whether it's decision making, language translation, and visual perception. And then we have machine learning. And machine learning is actually a subset of AI, and it's focused on building algorithms that allow these computers to perform these tasks from data without explicitly being programmed. And then we have deep learning. And then deep learning is a subset of machine learning. And it actually uses layered neural networks to analyze various levels of data and actually enable those models to make sense of these complex patterns, whether it's image recognition or natural language processing. I know these are a lot of terms, and we're just giving a brief overview, and we'll turn it back into the workshop. And so let's actually understand AI and ML a little bit further, because this is what the foundation is in order to actually apply these skills and enhance user experiences with generative AI. So with AI and with predictive ML models, what actually happens is that you have this set of data, it's that raw information from which your machine is learning from, and it's actually what the model is doing is it's learning the relationship between the data and those labels. And then finally, you have the output, and it's that model is actually that framework that makes decisions based off of that data. And then we have generative AI, right? So we walk through artificial intelligence, we walk through machine learning, we walk through deep learning, and then we have generative AI, which is a subset of deep learning. And it actually refers to a type of AI that can generate new content from texts or images or to music, to code, based on the training that it's received. So a lot of us, I mean, I use ChatGPT every single day in my life when it comes to work or anything. And so if you've used ChatGPT, for example, or any other of those similar tools out there, you're using a form of generative AI. And what powers generative AI is these foundational models. So these foundational models are a class of these machine learning models that serve as the basis for these wide range of natural language understanding and generation tasks. And there's a few characteristics that actually make up a foundational model. The first is the fact that it's a large scale, right? So ChatGPT didn't come out of nowhere or wasn't built in a month's time, right? It was trained on a massive data set, and it was comprised of billions or trillions of words. So then it could capture a broad understanding of both language and context. And then you have pre-training. So you can actually undergrow and pre-train on a diverse text of corpora using unsupervised learning model methods, such as either self-supervised learning or masked language modeling, to actually learn those general language representations. And then it is, can someone move the small window? Maybe I don't, okay, maybe it's someone else. Okay, cool. Then we have the generalization of actually being able to learn and generalize across these various tasks and domains. And then lastly, we have fine tuning. So can you actually fine tune on those specific data sets or tasks using supervised learning techniques? And like I mentioned slightly earlier, there's a few examples, right? We have OpenAI's GPT, and then we also have Google's BERT. And these foundational models, such as GPT, they actually possess the deep understanding of language and context. So they're able to enable strong generative capabilities. And there's generative AI techniques that actually find applications in content generation, in creative writing, in conversational agents, and they're able to leverage their knowledge to produce these high outputs. That's what makes ChatGPT so functional and easy for me to use and applicable, right? So how these foundational models, just to recap, it takes the training code, it takes the labeled data, it takes that unlabeled data, and it's actually able to generate and pump out that new content in the form of text generation, code generation, or image generation. And just to recap, we did talk about both predictive models and then generative AI foundation models. And the difference is listed right here in this image really well, where you have that predictive ML model that's able to learn the relationship between data and label. And then you have generative AI models, which is learning patterns in unstructured content. So now coming back to the Instagram question, I just wanted to give a quick brief overview about how are we applying it and what's the background context before we go ahead and solve this problem. So let's recap the problem. What generative AI-based feature can Instagram develop to enhance user engagement given limited engineering resources? The focus here is enhancing user engagement, and that's why I bolded that. And then you're given limited engineering resources. These two factors are going to be relevant in terms of how we solve the rest of the problem. So how can user engagement metric be defined? When it's at Instagram, there's very specific ways, right? Because user engagement is such a broad term and it can mean something slightly different in every product realm, but it is a metric of success in a business. So at Instagram, you have a few ways of defining user engagement. One is through the ARPU, the average revenue per user. Two is through direct purchases. So our purchases going up on Instagram. Three is increase in time. So are users spending more time engaging with the platform? Or maybe it's decrease to make a purchase, right? So that's a decrease in time before they make the direct purchase. So that ties back into the direct purchases. And then lastly is advertiser spending. Do you see a rise in investment on sponsored product recommendations? Okay. Abhinav made a great point to me. He actually said, I'm speeding through things, which is good to know. Are there any questions so far? Does this make sense? Are there any user engagement metrics that maybe I didn't think of already that maybe more of you have ideas around? Is this is this material familiar to you? I'm curious, maybe in the chat, if you could also all just put down some of your backgrounds, like what do you do today? What brought you here? What about generative AI interests you? Yeah, curious to learn more. Anyone? Awesome. We see a product manager here from a bank. Well, thank you for joining. That's great. So as a product manager, you must be familiar with some of these user engagement metrics that we're talking about. And you work with credit cards. Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much for chiming in. Awesome. We have Vijay who works on IoT products. By the way, for some of the hosts, it seems like a couple of the panelists don't have access to chat. If you could help fix that. Anyone else who wants to share a little bit more on their background? Awesome. Okay. Well, okay, cool. An EM in a biotech company. Awesome. That's great. Well, you guys are working in super technical areas, so you must have even a baseline already familiarity too in this space, which is super exciting. I'm excited that you guys are here today. Cool. Well, thank you guys. So, oh, cool. Data scientist in a Big Four consulting company. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. That's great. Cool. We have a Scrum Master trying to make it to a PM. That's awesome. I'm so happy that you guys came here today. We'll give it like 30 more seconds. I'd love to hear everyone's backgrounds and kind of like what brought you here today. PM in healthcare. Cool. Awesome. And I noticed actually just now, I'm looking very closely. It says the messages that you all are sending are to the hosts and panelists. So if you could switch to everyone, then everyone in the chat can also see everything that you're putting in. But thank you so much for sharing all of this so far. And this is great. And it becomes important to share to everyone because as we continue to solve this problem, I'm definitely going to continue to engage everyone here. Oh, you can't choose it to everyone. Oh no. Okay, we'll have the IK team, some of the co-hosts start working on some of that. Maybe Abhinav, you can work on that. And
Sure.
I'm good at continuing. Thank you. Awesome. So we have a few ways of how we've defined this user engagement metric. And let's talk a little bit about the competitive AI landscape in social media, right? So part of Instagram's motivation to go and enable generative AI is not just because they want to improve their products, but they want to stay competitive, right? So we have Snapchat, for example, who has offered AI-powered lenses and filters. And then we have TikTok, where you actually have a personalized For You feed that uses AI algorithms. And then with YouTube, you have enhanced content discovery and recommendations. With Twitter, you're starting to see an improved recommendation system. And then lastly, with Pinterest, you're actually able to see a content recommendation and video analysis. Are there other companies which you've seen in your respective industries? It seems like we have a lot of people from really cool industries. Can you share maybe some of you all experiences that where you've seen generative AI being implemented or being integrated into products? These are just a few that I came up with. Anyone? Has anyone been using ChatGPT? Yeah, that's true. Customer review summaries are now available on Amazon. Very true. Any other examples where you've seen generative AI? Oh, cool. Awesome. I see Sumit said he uses both ChatGPT and Perplexity on a daily basis. Yeah, you're right. Netflix has a strong recommendation engine. Thank you, Sandeep, for putting that in. And then I see Mona shared that retail sites like Zara offered curated products based on your viewing history. That's very true. And we have Amol, who mentioned that he uses Microsoft Generative AI to write Jerkin's test scripts in his functional spec. Awesome. Cool. You guys have a great ideas. That's awesome. Yeah. So there are a lot of examples. It's very evident that we've reached a turning point, right? We're not just researching generative AI anymore. We have companies everywhere, whether it's in the enterprise space, whether it's in the consumer space, everybody is trying to integrate generative AI and in the most efficient way possible, right? Not just implement generative AI to say as a company you've implemented generative AI, but to actually enhance that user experience for your customers. And that's the key here. And that's really what makes being a product manager, especially an AI product manager, super, super important and critical as a role. So in the context of that Instagram problem about what kind of features can they enhance, there's a few user personas and use cases that I came up with over here. So the first one, we have a fashion enthusiast named David. His background is that he's a fashion blogger. He has a strong following, and his use case is that he uses Instagram to A, find the latest fashion trends, and then B, share it with his followers to continue growing his following. And then next, we have a home decor enthusiast, Anna, who absolutely loves interior designs and is interested in home aesthetics. So she's using Instagram to identify any trending items that she can use to furnish her clients' homes. And then lastly, we have fitness junkie Sarah. We could also put Shruti there because I am a fitness junkie as well. But Sarah is engaged in fitness and follows trainers and influencers. And she actually discovers and purchases her new workout apparel through Instagram. Very similar to my personal experience with Instagram. Are there any other use cases or user personas that you all can think of as well? Please drop it in the chat. Any other use cases? Yes. Sandeep, thank you. So Sandeep wrote a traveler, Tony, to find out any travel destinations. I'm also Tony, actually. So yes, that's a perfect one. Awesome. Balaji wrote, lately short cooking videos have been becoming popular. Super, super true. I think what I'm learning here is that I'm addicted to Instagram because all of these personas are very relatable to me. So thank you for putting that. Any other user personas or use cases? Okay, let's keep going. Great contributions, everyone. I love it. So what are some commonalities between these personas, the three that I listed here specifically? Can any of you put in the chat what makes them so similar in this use case? Awesome. Mona put, there's a business value for each of them. That's correct. Any other commonalities between these user personas? What's common about their use case? Because we talked about a lot of features in the beginning, whether it's Instagram stories, lives, posts, reels. Yes, Amol wrote, they're looking for the latest trends in the areas of their interest. Yes. Ronit wrote, it follows changing market trends. Yep. You guys are really spot on. And even adding more than I could have put over here. I put a couple things, which is they're all interested in really quick and easy and good discovery experiences, right? And they're also interested in very easy sharing experiences for their specific industries, whether it's fashion, home, or fitness. And then these personas are either A, trying to gain a faster following, or they're B, trying to discover products so then they can shop faster. Everything that everyone else shared here on the chat too is 100% right. I just put a couple of the commonalities that came to mind, but I think everyone's doing awesome here. Cool. So now let's go to feature ideas. So, oh, I see one more idea, one more thing that Mona put into the chat is to keep stories relevant, and they're looking for fresh and trendy content as another commonality. Absolutely correct. Cool. So now let's also put in some feature ideas that you can enhance Instagram with generative AI. So put on your product, your PM hat. Today, you're going to be an AI PM in this class. And I'd love for you to all think about what are some features based on these use cases and personas that you've seen. How can Instagram actually increase their user engagement? I really want to spend time on getting creative here. So let's take a couple minutes. Let's think through it and let's put it in. And I'm seeing some really active, awesome engagement from some people. I'd love to also hear from the rest of you in the room. Any idea is awesome. And if you don't want me to say the name of the person putting in the chat, you can also just say anonymous or something, so I don't mention your name. But every idea is awesome. So please take a second. I'd love to see an idea from every single attendee in this room. Okay, awesome. I see Sham put an enhanced search feature. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Let's try to hear at least 5 or 6 more. You guys are all smart people. I know just from some of the backgrounds that you shared, we have a very, very intelligent room. So anything. We have Amol saying you can take a picture to search Instapost. Really good idea. Yeah, super creative. I love it. And that could actually increase user engagement too, totally. even the enhanced search feature. Okay, we have Balaji who said an auto voice translation to reach other language users. Yeah, that's super, super inclusive. And I think companies, not even I think, companies like Fang companies, especially, are always thinking about inclusivity, diversity. So I think this is an awesome feature as well. Any other ideas? Let's have even like one. Awesome. I see an anonymous idea for recommending for like minds for network. Yeah, that's a great idea actually as well. So you see more similar people who are thinking like you, who are interacting like you. Great. I see Mona saying using Gen I to enhance the ability to push adjacent topics based on customers' history or similar interests instead of just a linear approach. Great idea. Actually, one of the ideas that I was also thinking through. So awesome. And then we have another idea, creating marketing suggestions for sellers or providing marketing suggestions for sellers. Another awesome idea. Cool. We see another idea, suggestive selling and connecting local businesses using AI. You guys are doing awesome. I really have to say, you're getting very, very creative, especially when the focus is on increasing user engagement, and we're just focusing on that. The world is your oyster, and you guys are getting very creative based on these personas. So I appreciate all the participation. This is a good list. We'll just for the sake of, time, we obviously unfortunately can't go through every single idea listed here. There were a couple specific ideas that I wanted to walk through in this use case for this problem. So the first idea that I had come up with is dynamic generative AI storytelling templates. So what is the feature? The feature is actually a brand new feature, and the idea would be to introduce any interactive templates, any animated overlays, and maybe some immersive AR effects. And the persona and use case ties back to users who engage with Instagram stories rather than the newsfeed as much. So their top priority is Instagram stories, and that's who it's targeting. And in terms of integration, when talking to engineering, it's a brand new feature. And then we have feature 2. So feature 2 is an AI-powered Insta-post hashtag suggestion. And I saw someone could come up with something similar, which is like maybe marketing suggestions, for example. So this is in the similar realm. What the feature is and the vision is behind this idea is that it's actually like suggesting relevant hashtags based on the images that you upload, or maybe based on the caption that you're typing, the image content, the context. And the persona and use case is that it's actually targeting users who like to share posts on newsfeed, or maybe they like to discover on the newsfeed as well, right? Whether it's shopping or anything like that. And in terms of integration work, when speaking with engineering and design, it's an enhancement rather than a new feature to these existing Instagram sharing experiences. Any questions? Do the feature ideas make sense? The ones that we're going to continue to walk through? Awesome. So which feature should we go after first? Curious if, in terms of priority, if any of you have ideas based on feature 1 and feature 2, and why. Please feel free to drop into the chat. I see someone said feature 2. And the reason why is because of limited resources. Any other ideas? Anyone else have a suggestion of how to move forward between feature 1 and feature 2? Okay. We can keep going. So think back to your problem statement. I see someone else said feature 2 because it can be delivered earlier. Awesome. We have an anonymous saying feature 2 with limited resources and transfer learning. Great. We have another one who says feature 2, this is already in the market, adding little increments so it makes the time to market faster. So yes, you all got me and you all are very, very smart. So if you think back to this problem statement, the key here is yes, as much as the focus is enhancing user engagement, and you guys put really good ideas, right? When the world is your oyster, you can come up with extremely creative ways to enhance the user experience. But the key factor over there is the given limited engineering resources. So something that you can actually think about in terms of Instagram and prioritization is using this kind of a graph. The left focuses on something like engineering complexity, where you have low and high. And then at the bottom, you have low and high business value, right? So number 1 is your quick win. You can implement these first. It has low complexity, high business value. Number 2, it has high complexity and high business value, but it's your big bet. It's your strategic big bets that you might want to take. Number 3 is your fill-ins. So it's a low complex product, but it also has a low business value. So that's more of a resource question, right? If you have unlimited engineering resources, you're trying to create the perfect product, maybe you want to loop in some fill-ins. And then 4, super big time sinks, right? So it has high complexity, low business value. You really, really don't want to prioritize this as a product manager. And as a product manager, this is a very real world situation where you're asked to go and enable something, but you have limited engineering resources. Or, you might be put into any one of these matrices, any one of these squares within this matrix. So using this matrix can be extremely helpful in your day-to-day as a PM. So the value that you might get, and this is really important to communicate if you're in an interview, it's really important. I know a lot of you, I said, which feature is better? A lot of people jump to feature 2, which is great. That is ultimately the right answer. But walking your interviewer through how you're thinking is extremely critical. So talking about feature 1 becomes really relevant when you're sharing how you're thinking. So saying, hey, with feature 1, the value is that, it might actually be a high engineering effort, but given that it's a brand new feature, it's also easier, right, to show to your, not easier to show to your customers, but rather like it might be actually a large feature with high impact. But in the case of these personas that we specifically talked through, whether it's like the fashion blogger or maybe it's the fitness follower, these personas don't actually even care about the Instagram story experience, right? That's not even a relevant feature to their use case. And for this problem, we chose these 3 use cases very intentionally and very carefully. And given that they're prioritizing the newsfeed experience, it actually goes one level beyond the fact that engineering resources were the limitation. It's also the use case that you have to think about here. And then with the second feature, it's a lower engineering effort given it's an enhancement, but it has high value because users are going to actually discover items faster with these auto-generated hashtags. Does this make sense? Does anyone have any questions at this point? No questions? Does it make sense? Did anyone else also recognize the user persona part? Is that something that came to mind? I know maybe obviously you all are chatting, so it might be difficult to chat this, but let me know. No thoughts? Okay, we can keep going. So yes, feature 1, the generative AI powered Insta post hashtags would fall into this 1 quick win bucket. And then the feature about dynamic Insta story storytelling would actually fall into the big bets bucket. So even communicating, like using this matrix to communicate to your interviewer how you're thinking is also really critical. So that's just another tip that I like to give out. You have to constantly walk through your interviewer how you are thinking, because that's what the interviewer is interviewing you on, right? Even if for some reason you went forward with dynamic Insta story storytelling, if you walk through your logic about why you said no to Gen AI powered hashtags and why you're saying yes to dynamic Insta storytelling, maybe like if the personas were more targeted to it, it could be a good reason to maybe take a big bet and invest in it, even with limited engineering resources. I don't know the full answer, but obviously you have to think through that and build your story as you're sharing your answer. And then in terms of success criteria around user engagement, actually going back and thinking back to that problem statement and the personas we were targeting, you're increasing in user engagement metrics such as, I know people in the chat put likes, comments, or shares for posts using AI generated hashtags compared to posts without. So that's a way to test out your success criteria. Another way to test out your success criteria of user engagement is improvement in post discoverability. And then lastly is getting positive user feedback. So as a PM, you're constantly thinking of hypotheses, you're thinking about success metrics, but it's really important to define that success metric of what does user engagement really mean? And what are we going to track before and after feature launch or prototype or whatever stage that you're at in order to actually see if this is a successful feature that you should enable. And these are just some ideas over here. Are there any other ideas of success criteria that could define user engagement that maybe I didn't think of already? Maybe you guys can think of some, I think. By the way, you guys are doing great on the engagement. Like this class is going awesome. Okay, we can keep going. So I want to walk you through some key aspects that you should be using and thinking about as you're an generative AI PM. One is content analysis. So utilizing NLP models to analyze the content of user posts, whether it's image captions, text descriptions, and contextual information. We have another one where there's audience profiling, right? So based on these ML algorithms, can you profile the user's audience based on these engagement metrics, demographics, and interests? And then three, maybe there's hashtag generation. Whether you're developing an algorithm that generates these relevant hashtags like we talked about, or considering factors such as trending topics, popular hashtags. And then four is personalization. So can you implement personalized hashtag suggestions that actually adapt to the user's posting history, content themes, and engagement patterns? And five is real-time updates. So can you enable real-time updates and adjustments to hashtag suggestions based on changes in user input, content trends, and audience behavior? So really, we'll go through another 5 ideas, but I just want to pause and really crystallize what are we thinking about here, right? Because at the top of the slide says key aspects to think about. Really, what I'm trying to show you all is that hashtag, like opening up this feature, like relevant hashtags, is actually just scratching the surface. That's just part one. There's so many different ways of scratching this, like going past scratching the surface and actually creating a full-fledged feature, developing it inside out. But obviously, because of due to engineering resources, we're starting off with a tiny bit. And then if you wanted to expand, these are ways that you can actually expand further and continue to talk to your team based on the success of the initial feature. So a few more is that you can actually think about the user feedback integration that you have here. So can you focus on the feedback from the previous slides, the couple slides ago when I talked through that success metrics? And can you actually allow users to provide input so then you can continue to grow that feature? And then performance metrics. How do you know if something's successful, right? You want to track the before and the after. and actually see if there's improvement in post engagement and discoverability. And then these next two, extremely important to think about as a PM, but not just as any PM, especially as an AI-based PM. Privacy and data protection and ethical considerations are extremely important in this role, right? You want to ensure that you're compliant when you're handling so much PII data, for example. And this is even at Fang companies, whether it's Microsoft, Facebook, whichever companies, you have to constantly be thinking about these aspects and documenting your thought process around these aspects anytime you implement a new feature. So ensure you're compliant with privacy regulations and data protection standards by anonymizing that user data and sensitive information. And then scalability and reliability. It's important as if you're an engineering background, if you're a PM background, it's constantly important to think about scalable solutions and reliable solutions, especially when you have 1 billion users. It's extremely important to think about those large volume of user requests and providing consistent performance under varying load conditions. And then lastly, this user face integration. So to integrate this AI hashtag feature seamlessly, you want to provide intuitive access and very easy usage. So that's something to think through when working with your designer stakeholders, for example, and getting that feedback from those customers. Any questions so far on this slide or the previous one? Cool. I saw a comment that I didn't get to say before, but someone also mentioned if you can track user disengagement points, it can actually give you a clue if something didn't go as planned. Super critical to also think about in an aspect to think about here. So thank you for sharing. So what are the detailed feature specifications? If you're in an interview, for example, or even talking to your manager, or trying to show people that you are a very thoughtful PM who's thinking through everything, saying things like, hey, I want to work with my engineering, design, my customers, data scientists, marketing, communications, the legal and compliance team to create these detailed specifications. It shows that you're thinking about the feature holistically. You're not just coming up with a creative idea and going and building it, right? You're getting a lot of proof. You're involving all these stakeholders. You're thinking through all aspects before going and enabling even a small feature like an AI hashtag generation. You're thinking through the functional, the non-functional requirements, the UI design, technical architecture, data needs, timelines, and milestones. And like I mentioned earlier, you're thinking through those ethical and legal concerns. Really critical as a PM to have an opinion in this area, and then also maintain privacy and data security concerns related to user data handling and any processing. So, by the way, I started this class off by saying that you could either be a real world PM solving this problem today, or you could be in an interview, for example, being asked this kind of a question. Either way, if you are a real world PM, or if you want to communicate to your interviewer that, hey, if I was in this role, this is what I would do, here are some things to consider. So the next steps that I would go and actually do is focus on implementing and testing. So you want to develop these features iteratively with agile methods. You want to test it thoroughly at each stage, get that feedback from your users, and implement and test, right? And then you want to roll out and monitor gradually. So if I think of this AI hashtag feature, Instagram is not going to launch this feature to all 1 billion users at once. They're going to start off with a small subset, get that feedback, iterate, and as they continue to get more positive user feedback or experience, or they hit those success metrics, whether it's those KPIs, or they see revenue going up, or if you're seeing positive behavior increase, then you can continue to expand to the rest of the 1 billion users that Instagram has. Awesome. So a few more concluding remarks about why you should upskill in generative AI. I started this class off by telling you about how AI was at a tipping point, right? It's no longer at research phase. It's completely moved on into the implementation phase, and AI-related skills have become a baseline for many technical job requirements. And LLM-based computation is commoditized and integrated more and more. I mean, you all actually told me about a few competitors or companies out there in your industries that are already starting to integrate generative AI. And then technical astute is sought in reshaping business flows that enrich and gets enriched by these pre-trained model. Ultimately, AI has reshaped how we build and consume technological solutions. And if you are in any of these industries, if you're already a product manager, if you want to become a product manager, if you're a software engineer, if you're from really any background and you want to go into product, knowing about AI is extremely critical, and putting on that AI PM or AI software hat becomes extremely important. In the SWE world, for example, I just wanted to show a few screenshots of what it's like to get either a software engineering job and the requirements that you see here related to generative AI, if that's what you're interested in shifting into, or if you're already in engineering and you're trying to switch to another job. Pretty much every job description here at Airbnb, Brain Trust, like Waymo, anything in Fang and even outside of Fang, it's becoming a very big norm. And then even in the PM world, like I mentioned earlier, there are many industry trends where we're seeing AI rapidly transforming these industries. So it's extremely important to also enhance your current product with any form of AI. It helps with efficiency and automation, and it helps you make data-driven decisions by analyzing these large sets of data. It gives you a competitive advantage when you're working against your competitors. So when we talked about Instagram, we talked about Snapchat, Twitter, and a few of you also mentioned a couple other competitors. And then it also requires cross-functional collaboration, and most importantly too, ethical considerations. Because AI is so new, it's really important for PMs to wear that responsibility hat and navigate these ethical and legal issues. And we're seeing a large number of AI PM roles opening up, whether it's at Microsoft or Google or Netflix, Apple, AWS, like Amazon or Meta. We've already seen over 1,000 job openings specifically for AI PM roles. So it becomes very important. And we have an awesome applied Gen AI curriculum. So the first 2 weeks will be a bit of a Python crash course, and the next 4 weeks will focus on generative AI. We did a little background here today already, which is super exciting to kick off that knowledge share, but we really deep dive on a hands-on experience with generative AI, and we deep dive into LLMs and a generative AI background and neural networks. And then we have a following 4 weeks where we're actually teaching you how to build these applications, whether it's training LLMs, building applications for generative AI for images or for audio. And then we have these separate learning tracks, which I think is really unique. We have a bunch of people here in the room, again, coming from engineering backgrounds or interested in product or already in product, right? And so these 4 weeks of separate learning tracks actually help you learn generative AI applications specifically to your job roles. And we end with a capstone project. So you really feel like you're a real world PM in this space already, and you have the opportunity to apply the entire skill set that you spent this time learning to a real world problem. So very, very exciting. And for those of you who don't know, I'm actually one of the instructors for this generative AI PM course, if you weren't sure already. So you get to spend time with me also. If you like being here today, I would love to see you all more. So with AI engineering for software engineers, we have a full set of curriculum and domain specialization there on the left. And then with product management for generative AI, we have a full curriculum here on the right. Does anyone have any questions about anything I just went through over here? And Abhinav, did you want to add anything that I missed?
No, I think Shruti, we are good on the detail side. We'll just wait for the questions and then we'll add more.
Cool. wanted to make sure in these last couple minutes, people really got to ask any questions that they might have over here.
Hey, hello, Shruti. This is from team Interview Kickstart already. This is Abhay here. I just want to make sure, right, that people are aware how to ask questions once again. So people, before even moving to the Q&A side, right, I would like to highlight, almost taking 2 to 3 minutes, that why we have came up with something which is very specialized, right, across Gen AI. In the regular webinars, we are already discussing about how people can switch their career, become an ML engineer, data scientist, right? But we have also been analyzing a lot of job descriptions recently, and we have realized that the demand of people who are working on supporting roles, right, whether it could be a product manager or it could be a software developer from a specific domain, or it could be an ML ops individual, DevOps people, right, data engineer, cloud engineer. It is good to have our mandatory skill set to learn the AI and add that hat, right, as Shruti already mentioned in your existing candidature. And that's why we have realized that not everybody fits into the bucket of becoming an AI ML engineer or a data science. You can stay in your domain, learn those skills and transition. So you can also get the benefit, right, of having good metric of compensation, and also designate your future as well, right, on how you can further go into the hierarchy, right, by joining any organization. So this is the reason why we are creating multiple paths. So this is one of the path, right, where in applied Gen AI, we are having specialized capstones for product managers, specialized capstones for software development engineers, the people who do not belong from the technical industries, right, who are, or who would have left coding quite ago. They can also rejoin and learn this component, right, by creating their own side of capstone projects, so they can share it with the hiring managers, right, when they go into the market, and help them understand that they have also enabled themselves to learn all these components. There are also some combination programs along with the applied Gen AI, so people who are looking to also switch or transition, right, post learning the AI component. We have some level of programs, right, for somebody who is in backend engineer, front end engineer, and engineering manager, depending upon the domain and hierarchy. You can add that individual component and make this transition possible, right? So that is the reason we are doing these sessions, right, to make all of the people aware about there are multiple pathways how you can transition, or there are multiple openings that you can target, rather than just looking at one of the scope, right, or one of the lens of just AI ML. And this is the AIML, or if we talk about the artificial intelligence, is also gradually going around and bulging up, right? So the cloud or blanket of AI also going multiple ways in multiple industries as well. That's why you can also see multiple specialized programs, or maybe specialized roles as well, right? It could be microprocessor AI individual engineer, some hardware engineer, AI engineer roles as well that are into in Meta and all of that. And that is the reason why we are also broadening up multiple pathways for people who join us, right? So that we can guide them, or the program advisors, right, that who are along with you can guide you that which of those transitions would be much more helpful for you. So if you have any questions, I think it would be great. We can unmute you as well over here. If you let us know by raising your hand, right, you can communicate with me, ask any questions with Abhinav, me, or Shruti. Or if you have any questions, you can also put across in Q&A, and we would be happy to answer for everything. Yep. Thanks, Shruti.
Thank you, Abhay, as well. I see one question here in the chat already. Could you give me more details on the product management roadmap? Why only restrict to generative AI? How about other ML areas? Rahul, I think this is a great question. We're not at all restricting to generative AI, right? What we've done here internally is we've analyzed what are all the AI-based PM roles that are out there, and we're seeing the largest trend in generative AI-based PM roles. So it's really our starting point to help as many people and help get those jobs that are out there. And then we'll continue to expand into other ML areas as well. Abhinav, did you want to add anything there, or?
Yeah, I think that is accurate. Thanks, Shruti. So one part is obviously taking direct inputs from the job market in terms of analyzing the job descriptions, and then basically interacting with the hiring managers. So another part is the curriculum, the overall applied generative AI curriculum also has the deep learning aspects to it, right? So as generative AI, we know it's years and years of development on deep learning, and then generative AI came into the picture. So the curriculum has good amount of deep learning background as well covered, so that you get a full realistic view of what is underneath and how it works, right? So the idea would be to again go from the applied side of things, not go too much in theory. That's not the learning objective, but to give a good practical and intuitive understanding of the underlying deep learning concepts as well. So that way, the program has enough ground on other ML areas as well covered. Cool. That is all from my side.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I would like to add, Abhinav. So, the intent, right, to help you learn specifics of Gen AI is to enable your existing profile of being a product manager, right, so that you can start interacting with all of these stakeholders and can perform all of your POS category roles, right, across the same. If we look through the spectrum, there is no end to learning more and more, right? So we are trying to give you an insight so you can enable your profile. And once you join any organization or maybe become a part of the product, right, or SDLC, then you can explore much more insights, right? That is the intent altogether. Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions?
If anybody has any question, do let us know. You can also participate by raising your hand. We can unmute you, deep dive into your profile, right? Can help you out. In the meanwhile, if you think, right, you do not have any direct questions at the moment, you would have already received the generative AI program details, the agreement links as well. If you reply back, it will reach out to your program advisor so that they can connect with you, schedule a call, go through your existing candidature, right, the profile that you belong to, and can guide you which of this individual combination along with generative AI or the applied AI program is going to work best out of all of it, right? So would urge people, if they have any questions or if they would be having any questions, right? Certainly do reply to their existing moves in the inbox and then reach out to us so we can help you out.
Shruti, I believe there are no further questions. And anyways, Abhay has already told the participants to reach out to their program advisor in case they have any questions, any further questions which they are not able to, let's say, ask right now. So yeah, I think we can wrap up the session. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Super appreciate it.
Thanks, Shruti. Thanks for your time as well. Thank you, everyone, for staying till the late and having a great interactive session.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shruti, for joining us, being one of our commenced instructor in the program. And thank you, everyone else as well, for joining, and have a happy Mother's Day that I was not able to wish before. And have a wonderful evening with your mothers out there. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.